deep beneath the Gobi Desert, 1,000 feet below the surface. China is building something that defies imagination, not a bunker, not a military installation. Entire cities, complete with hospitals, schools, shopping malls, transit systems, and hydroponic farms. This isn't science fiction. It's already happening. And while Americans argue about air conditioning bills and swamp coolers, China is preparing for a future so extreme that the surface of the planet may become uninhabitable. Tonight, we expose the $50 billion underground empire that Western intelligence agencies are only beginning to understand, and why U.S. military planners are losing sleep over what it means. Let's start with what your government isn't telling you. Between 2016 and 2024, China constructed over 20 million square feet of underground space annually, more than the rest of the world combined. But that's just the official number. Satellite imagery analyzed by Jane's Defense weekly reveals something far more alarming: massive excavation projects in Xinjiang, Inner Mongolia, and along the Tibetan Plateau that don't appear on any public registry. The Chinese call them urban underground complexes or deep civil defense networks. But the scale suggests something else entirely. We're talking about subterranean cities designed for permanent habitation, not for days or weeks, but for years. The physics China understands and America ignores is simple. Every 100 feet you go underground, the temperature stabilizes by approximately 15 degrees Fahrenheit. At 1,000 feet, the Earth maintains a constant 55 to 65 degrees year-round, regardless of whether the surface is 120 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit. This isn't theory. It's geothermal physics. While surface dwellers fight climate change with air conditioners and clay pots, underground cities operate at comfortable temperatures with minimal energy input. China isn't building these cities to hide from nuclear war, though that's a secondary benefit. They're building them because they've accepted something the West refuses to acknowledge. Large portions of the Earth's surface are becoming uninhabitable, and the time to prepare is now, not later. Consider the numbers that should terrify every American policymaker. China's underground economy already generates an estimated $200 billion annually, from subterranean shopping centers in Beijing to underground warehouses in Shanghai to sub-basement data centers in Shenzhen. But the new phase, codenamed Project Deep Nest by U.S. intelligence, represents a $50 billion investment specifically in habitable underground cities. The largest, located beneath Ordos in Inner Mongolia, can reportedly house 300,000 people indefinitely. That's larger than Pittsburgh, larger than Cincinnati, larger than Newark, and it's completely invisible from the surface. No satellites can see it. No missiles can destroy it. No heat signature betrays it. But here's why the U.S. should be terrified, and it's not just military. China is solving problems America refuses to acknowledge exist. Surface temperatures in the Middle East, North Africa, and parts of Asia are already exceeding human survivability limits for days at a time. The wet bulb temperature, the combination of heat and humidity that makes sweating ineffective, has crossed the lethal 35 degrees Celsius threshold in multiple regions since 2020. When that happens, no clay pot helps you. No air conditioner saves you if the power grid fails. The only solution is to go underground or leave. China chose underground. America hasn't chosen anything. The engineering is staggering and deliberately misunderstood by Western analysts. A typical Chinese deep city consists of 3 layers. The upper layer, 50 to 150 feet down, contains commercial space, transit corridors, and emergency shelters accessible to the public. The middle layer, 150 to 500 feet down, houses residential areas, schools, medical facilities, and hydroponic farms. This is where permanent populations would live. The lower layer, 500 to 1,000 feet down, is restricted. Military command centers, hardened data storage, emergency government facilities, and unknown systems that intelligence agencies can't characterize. Each layer is connected by blast-resistant elevators and stairwells. Each layer has independent power generation, typically small modular nuclear reactors or geothermal plants. Each layer has closed-loop water recycling and air filtration. Compare this to American infrastructure. The U.S. has Cold War-era bunkers, the Greenbrier, Raven Rock, Mount Weather, designed for weeks of habitation, not years. They're museums now, not functional cities. The U.S. has subway tunnels in New York and Washington that flood during rainstorms. The U.S. has no underground hydroponic farms, no subterranean schools, no deep earth hospitals designed for continuous operation. When disaster strikes, hurricane, heat wave, nuclear incident, pandemic, America's plan is evacuation or shelter in place above ground. China's plan is relocation to underground cities that are already built, already stocked, already functional. The military implications are what keep Pentagon strategists awake. An underground city isn't just a shelter. It's a fully operational military base hidden from every surveillance technology known to man. China can move troops, store ammunition, launch cyber operations, and coordinate drone strikes from facilities that cannot be targeted. Conventional bunker busters penetrate only 100 to 200 feet of reinforced concrete. The Chinese deep cities sit at 1,000 feet, protected by granite and basalt. Even nuclear weapons would need direct hits to cause significant damage, and China has built redundancy across multiple provinces. Destroy one underground city, and 15 more continue operating. But the deeper terror, the one nobody wants to name, is what China knows about climate change that we don't. The Chinese government doesn't spend $50 billion on contingency planning. They spend when their models show inevitability. And their climate models, developed by the Chinese Academy of Sciences, predict something catastrophic. By 2070, nearly one-third of the Earth's current habitable land surface will experience wet bulb temperatures exceeding human tolerance for at least 20 days annually. That's not uncomfortable. That's unsurvivable without technological intervention. Regions affected include most of the American Southwest, the entire Gulf Coast, the Mississippi Valley, and large portions of California. America's breadbasket, America's Sun Belt, America's population centers. Watch what China builds next, not where they say they're building. Official announcements focus on sponge cities and underground transportation networks and climate-resilient infrastructure. But the real activity is happening in remote, geologically stable regions far from coastlines and fault lines. Satellite imagery from Planet Labs shows excavated material, hundreds of millions of tons of rock and soil, disappearing into what appear to be mines but are actually access shafts. Truck traffic patterns show concrete deliveries at 3 a.m. to avoid detection. Ground-penetrating radar from commercial satellites reveals grid patterns consistent with urban planning, not mining. China is building underground, and they're not telling us how much or where. The technological gap is widening faster than anyone admits. China's boring machines, the tunnel-boring giants that excavate underground space, are now the largest and most advanced in the world. The Jinsho tunnel boring machine, deployed in 2024, can cut through solid granite at 100 feet per day while simultaneously installing concrete lining and ventilation systems. American TBM technology hasn't significantly advanced since the 1990s. China can excavate an entire underground city in 18 months. The U.S. would take 10 years, after 5 years of environmental impact studies and lawsuits. This isn't about money. It's about speed, political will, and acceptance of what's coming. Remember the clay pot we discussed earlier? That $3 solution to extreme heat? China respects that ancient wisdom while building for the future. They haven't abandoned passive cooling. They've integrated it. Underground cities use evaporative cooling channels, thermal mass stabilization, and natural convection cycles. The same physics Egyptians used, scaled to an urban level. Surface air conditioners are becoming obsolete in Chinese planning documents. Underground geothermal stability makes them unnecessary. This isn't primitive versus modern. It's strategic versus reactive. China is reacting to climate projections with 4,000-year-old physics combined with 21st century engineering. America is still arguing about air conditioner efficiency ratings. The social engineering is equally sophisticated and equally alarming to Western observers. Underground cities require different social organization than surface societies. No natural light means artificial circadian rhythm management. No windows means psychological adaptation. No outdoor space means redesigned recreation, education, and community interaction. China has spent billions studying these factors, building underground test communities in Chongqing and Harbin, where volunteers have lived for 6-month rotations while psychologists monitor everything from sleep patterns to social cohesion. The results? After initial adjustment periods of 2 to 3 weeks, most humans adapt fully to underground living. Depression rates actually decrease compared to surface control groups, likely because underground environments eliminate weather variability, noise pollution, and the psychological stress of climate uncertainty. Why isn't America building these? The answer is uncomfortable. American disaster planning assumes that technology will save us. Better AC, more efficient refrigeration, stronger seawalls, carbon capture. But these are mitigation strategies, not survival strategies. They don't work when the power grid fails. They don't work during cascading disasters. They don't work when supply chains collapse. Underground cities work during all of these scenarios because they're designed for self-sufficiency from day one. America's political system can't fund projects with 20-year timelines. China's can. America's environmental review process takes 7 years for a highway. China's takes 7 months for an underground city. America debates whether climate change is real. China builds for its consequences. The economic threat is the one that finally gets attention when climate-driven migration begins in earnest, and it's already starting in Bangladesh, the Sahel, and Central America. Countries with underground infrastructure will absorb displaced populations more effectively than countries without. China's underground cities can house 300,000 people each. 10 such cities house 3 million. 100 house 30 million. The U.S. has no comparable capacity. When Americans flee Phoenix in July 2050 because surface temperatures hit 130 degrees Fahrenheit for the 3rd consecutive week, where will they go? Canada? The Pacific Northwest? Neither has housing. Neither has infrastructure. Neither has a plan. China has a plan. China has $50 billion worth of plan. Here's your action plan, because awareness without action is paralysis. Step 1. Ask your congressional representative what they know about China's underground cities. Most don't know. Make them learn. Step 2. Demand that FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security release their climate contingency plans. They have them. They're classified. They shouldn't be. Step 3. Research geological stability maps of your region. Where could an underground city be built near you? Step 4. Talk to your local civil defense office. Yes, they still exist, about what shelter capacity actually exists. The answer will terrify you. Step 5. Start building community resilience networks. Underground cities are communal projects. They require trust, cooperation, and shared resources. Those take years to develop. Start now. The final truth is this. The $50 billion China is spending on underground cities isn't a secret weapon. It's a survival strategy. And the reason the U.S. should be terrified isn't that China will attack us from beneath the earth, though that's a plausible military scenario. The real terror is that when the climate crisis reaches its inevitable peak, China will have functioning cities, stable populations, and operational governments underground while America bakes on the surface, arguing about politics, waiting for a technological miracle that isn't coming. The Egyptians understood this 4,000 years ago. You don't fight physics. You work with it. China understands that now. The question is whether America is still capable of understanding anything at all. Stay aware. Stay prepared. And remember, the scariest secrets aren't the ones they hide. They're the ones they announce in plain sight. And nobody believes them until it's too late.